What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another call on Tyrone. I got my boy Vlad with me. How you doing, Vlad?
Doing pretty good yourself?
And of course, we have our special guest tonight, Miss Kelsey Kramer. She writes for the Atlanta Falcons for Heavy.com. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me. First podcast of the season, so might be a little rough.
It's not gonna be a little rough. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at Call on Tyrone. Follow Fila at Fila_SP. Let's go ahead and get into it. I guess we talked about it in the backstage, and I said I was gonna make it the first topic. Julio Quintorris Jones decided he was going to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know how to feel about it. I'll put it like that. My initial thoughts were very, very bold on Twitter. They're very, very bold. You probably have to look it up. But I mean, it hurt. I feel like it doesn't really hurt. It's just as more for me. Why? Like at this point, why? Because you just got cut by Tennessee. Well, first let's start last year. You do the whole trade thing. You get on TV. You tell Shannon Sharp, "Oh, I'm done in Atlanta. You get to Tennessee. You get hurt. You don't perform. And then you get to now where you had a whole offseason, which, I mean, we didn't see no workout videos, no nothing, which you never get that from Julio because I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to do that to him. But, yeah, you get to a point where why? I feel like my reasoning was because why? Like, okay, you had a great career here. We beaten Tampa. If we can go, I wish I would have went back and looked at how many times we beat Tampa in his career. And you go and join Tom Brady, basically a ring chasing. And we always talk about these guys that ring chase at the end of their career and how bad it looks. And now this looks bad. This looks really bad for Julio. Now, Kelsey, I want your opinion on it. You do write for the Atlanta Falcons, so you've had, interactions with some of these guys. So for you, what is this, this whole thing? How does this feel for you?
Well, I have a different perspective, I think, because, writing on all these guys and growing up partially a fan, but I didn't really hone in until about 3 years ago on the NFL. So for me, it's more like, all right, nobody wanted Julio Jones. So I think the Bucs actually, personally, I think the Bucs pushed for him as out of spite. Honestly, I think they did this knowing no one wants him. But if we get him, it's going to draw attention and it might motivate him. Not that you can stay healthy, but it might motivate him to work harder to stay healthy or something. I don't know. I'm also happy for him. Not because he's playing for the Bucs, but because he's getting a sorry, I was reading the comment and it's y'all. Not because he's playing for the Bucs, but because he's getting another chance to chase a ring. I'm happy for him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the discussion with a lot of people. I mean, we am on multiple shows, and it's a mixed bag. I feel like it's a little bit of both because we all love Julio. I think that's just the thing that's keeping us stuck to him is how much we love him and what he did for us and the city. Julio was the greatest wide receiver in football for a long time, and especially in Atlanta. And it kind of is like, okay, he's a great. You don't want to have it as a point of. I don't want to use that as an excuse of still liking him. Not even still liking him. Just I don't want to bash him as much, but it's just his actions. I think that's the problem with me. It felt like his actions were kind of. I don't want to say it feels targeted, but it kind of feels like it's targeted towards Atlanta, just in general. Like we did him dirty, and I feel like we didn't do him dirty in any way. We gave you the extra money. We gave you, you set out of camp, and we gave you the extra $2 million that you wanted. because you set out of camp, and I felt like we always appeased to him, like we gave him what he wanted, and I felt like, and this is like a slap in the face to us as a. I feel like the franchise is like, well, dang, you went to a rival, like a division rival. It would have been different. You would have went like San Francisco. Okay, that's a
Totally.
20. That's a far away rivalry. You would have went to the Cowboys. That's a multi-year, years away rivalry. But you went somewhere. We play you twice. We had to see you in a number 85 Tampa Bay jersey twice. And that's just like, it just feels sickening. Like, it feels nasty. Vlad, what's your opinion on it?
Honestly, I mean, it kind of does leave you a little sour at the end of the day because, he did go to a rival. He could have went to, Indy. He could have went, like you said, San Francisco, Cowboys. There was plenty of suitors out there that would have took him on. But to go to the guy that literally took the Super Bowl ring from you like that, I mean, yeah, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and, he does that kind of stuff. But it's at the end of the day, it's like, really, Julio?
Yeah. Well, let's get on a happier note. Day 2 of camp was today. Yeah, I mean we're at camp now. This is football season. I've been waiting for this for a long time. So for you, Kelsey, what are your plans? You're riding, of course. Are you going to be at the facility anytime soon, or because I know you said you stay in Arizona? So what is your plans throughout the season?
I'm all over the place. So I will be there. I'll be heading that way in about a week and a half. So I'll be in Atlanta for at least 2 weeks, or Flowery Branch. I'll be there for the joint practice with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So right now, y'all know as much as I do from what's happening at camp via Twitter, via ESPN and everything. And that's my plan so far. But as far as storylines go, the quarterback situation's a big thing, even though they just announced Marcus Mariota. But, we're still so far from week 1. Things can change. I don't think they will, but who knows? Desmond Ridder, everyone's high on him. The coaches are very high on him. So that's what I'm really excited to see. And all the competition that's happening, because there's so many positions basically open right now that we're going to look at the roster on week 1 and be like, who's that? Hopefully not. Yeah. Hopefully we get a little background by then, but we're still going to be like, who is that?
Yeah. Well, we had a couple headlines. I'll let you talk about, because I know you've been following it a lot and we've had shows on it and stuff like that. So for you, how does this feel for you? I mean, it's the start of football season, man.
Finally put away the speculation and, all the filler, takes, and actually get some real substance. It's a good feeling, right? But like as far as the rookie class goes, like I've really liked what I've been hearing from them. Like Drake London's been doing his thing, especially day 2. He's been out there and really showed out. My boy Troy Anderson, was keeping up with Pitts. Grant you, Pitts still made the catch, but I mean, he stay like in step with Pitts like that. That's impressive in itself, because like, how many linebackers can do that in the NFL? You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. The rookie running backs we had came in and did their thing, had some nice runs up the middle. They're rotating that left guard spot. I was, grant you, I still think we need more help there, but it is what it is. The one thing I like about this coaching staff is the fact that they're willing to rotate guys in, even if you're like a rookie, even if you're like a 1-year guy. Like, they're not afraid to take their veterans out and show them, look, like, you're on notice. Like, if you don't step it up, you'll be replaced. Cough, cough, McGarry. But that was I remember reading a tweet by Kevin Knight over on the Falcoholic. He said something about how McGarry got put on his backside by one of the defensive ends, and he was thinking it was oh my god, Epiketti.
Epiketti, Arnold.
Yeah, I thought it was Epiketti, but he wasn't quite sure. But yeah, all in all, like, I've really enjoyed this rookie class so far. They're seem to be doing their thing, and couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into it a little bit. Kelsey doesn't really know this, but I'm a huge O-line guy. So we got our first, I guess we'll say day one starting five. And I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't even shocked. And a lot of people, I said something last year, and a lot of people thought I was crazy. And it was during the season where everybody was watching these old linemen, and I said something. I said Drew Dalman. I wish I could go find that clip, but I said Drew Dalman will either be starting I said he either start in his second year or he's going to give Hennessy a run for his money. And we get to day one, your starting center is Drew Dalman. So I don't think Hennessy is going to get kicked out of that spot. I don't think any of these I don't think any of the starting five last year is going to get kicked out of their spots. But I think McGarry has to be on strong notice. Hennessy, we drafted your replacement last year. Let's be honest. So you got to show us, because I feel like Hennessy wasn't a Arthur Smith-esque pick, even though he can fit in that system. He wasn't a Arthur Smith-esque type center in my eyes, because Hennessy doesn't give you that. I wouldn't say a zone. He's not a very, very strong zone reach blocker, and he doesn't really excel getting to the second level. If you watch Drew Dalman in college, he excelled getting to the second level, excelled in zone blocking, reach blocking, stuff like that. And when you had to have chemistry. And I feel like last year they had no chemistry. You kind of just threw Mayfield out there and you threw him to the wind and was like, hey, you are our, what was he, third round draft pick? And you're going to have to start this year. And I felt like he was a project.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that wasn't their plan from the get-go.
No, it was not the plan. I feel, and he talked about it in camp. If you look at his first few couple interviews, he was saying like, yeah, I'm still working on both sides. He wasn't even, I feel like he wasn't even prepared to play left side. He had been playing right side so long. You just threw him out there at left side, and you just saw Matt get killed on his blind side multiple times in that same area. And it was always up the middle or, to the side, something like that, where it was like, okay, we know the interior on that left side is where our weak suit is. And you have a very strong right guard and you have a very strong left tackle, right? You have three other positions right there where you have to fill it in. And I don't know if McGarry, I really can't predict who's going to go there and who's going to go, in what spot. But I feel like we might run it back, but I feel like Dalman might start. I feel like that's my go-to answer. If anybody gets taken out the starting five, it's gonna be Hennessy. Kelsey, for you, is there, O-line wise, is there like a certain position you're looking at to see this year?
I'm with you. Center's definitely my number one I'm looking at. And I'm rooting for Dalman as well. But like you said, that's another, aside from the defensive line, is what is going to make or break it too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the defensive line. But as far as players, you were talking about getting kicked out. They were talking about Frank Darby and Marlon Davidson's spot, up in the air. So those are two guys. And I love Frank Darby, might be my favorite personality player of all
personality. He has that great personality. He's a great kid. You can tell when you just watch him play.
Him to dominate, yeah. And I didn't look and see. He was not in the starting with the starting squad. So I'll have to look back and see how he was doing. But I'm rooting for him. I want Marlon Davidson to do really well as well. His attitude coming out in the draft was so awesome, and then injury after injury and COVID. So a bounce back from him would be really cool.
I think they were rotating him on pass rush packages, I think, today.
That's what he needs. I feel like that's what he needs to be. I feel like if you watch him at Auburn, he played DN at Auburn. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, he didn't play inside. He played a lot more outside at Auburn. He played the strong side. They were in a 3-4, but he played a strong side DN role. And I feel like for him, you got to realize, I mean, you got Grady Jarrett next to you. You got one of the greatest D tackles in the NFL right now, right next to you. And you got guys now at that two, though. You got a lot. I mean, we have a lot of D tackles. And we have a lot of nose guards. We have a lot of DNs. And you do not want to get lost in that shuffle. And we're still signing D tackles. We just signed another D tackle yesterday. So
and safeties.
So I mean, I don't even know what we're. I really can't. We can actually talk about that. I don't know. I don't know what Arthur Smith has involved. I don't know what Terry has. I don't know what. Oh my God, what is it? Is it Ryan? Not Ryan Smith. What is his name? Is it Ryan Smith? The one that came from Chicago?
Come on.
What's
There's
the one
so
that
many guys from Chicago?
Come on.
Yeah, Pace. Pace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know what Pace. The whole staff. Yeah, just the whole Chicago staff. I don't know what those guys have or what they have planned between those three. But we went out and signed nothing but 6'5" wide receivers. We're still signing corners. We're still signing safeties. We're still signing D-tack. Like we're so full. I feel like we gotta be over the 90 limit mark. Like I feel like this camp we're almost at 100 players on the field, and we haven't even made like in first cuts. We might not see. We're gonna see at least 20 guys go. So this is gonna be a long, long, long training camp. Because when first cuts come around, you're going to be sitting there reading names. You're going to be like, okay, I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. But you might see some names where you're like, oh, these are like guys we have that we thought were going to stay. And I think like it was like kind of sort of when we saw, oh God, what's his name? The D-Tac, Kaminsky. Kaminsky. We saw Kaminsky, not Kaminsky. What's his name? Is it Kaminsky? Get cut. I think that's what his name is. I don't know why I can't remember. But we saw Kaminsky get cut. Yeah, when we saw him get cut mid-season, you were like, bro, why? Like we didn't know what you didn't have a reasoning on why. You were just like, oh well, dang. He just kind of just got cut. And
oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, I just bouncing off of that. They kept Cam Niziak. I know his wife, but the kicker.
Oh yeah,
they kept him after like he did terrible, and they were like, "Oh, we'll give him another chance." But yeah, then they cut John. So last year was just like, "What are we doing?" I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what I like. I feel like they're like these evil, masterminds, and we just don't know. You can't put your finger on them, and that's the funny part. Getting into another. I'll get into another question. We talked about the O-line. We talked about D-line. We didn't talk about the receivers. We saw some really good catches today. We saw some really good throws. We'll throw the quarterbacks in here too. We'll talk about that little controversy. We saw some really good throws from both quarterbacks. I still feel like we know Marcus Mariota is the starter. We should know. Everybody should have known that from the beginning. But when we get to training camp, I mean, Desmond Ridder might just show out, and we get to a preseason game, and one thing Arthur Smith he hates is mistakes. So you see Mario go into a game making a way, more mistakes than positive plays. We can see it happen, but I don't believe that Mariota. I feel like Mariota's as a different Mariota than we saw in Tennessee. I mean, he had to be a bench player. So I feel like you get humbled really fast when you got to come off the bench behind Derek Carr.
I think the thing about Ridder though is he kind of heard. I bet he heard that news of like, oh, Marcus Mariota's a starter, is he? Okay, I got you. All right. That's just the kind of personality he seems like he has that like, okay, yeah, he can keep it for now, but I'm about to take it. So it's like,
hopefully,
I think he saw that as a challenge when he heard that news. So,
well, even before that, even before that, on report day, he was like, nope, didn't bring the Xbox, brought 2 iPad chargers and some notebooks. So he's studying, and he's rooming with Marcus Mariota. So he's going to be picking his brain for the next 31 days.
That's going to be fun to see.
More than that.
Yeah. The thing about Mariota and Ritter, though, is the one thing about Ritter that even back when he was in college, that just that desire to want it, I think that's so important, especially for a quarterback. Like, you could come out with all the talent in the world, but if you don't utilize it, then it kind of does you really no good sometimes. Sometimes you just have that much talent that it doesn't matter. But from the mass majority of players, it's like, how bad do you want it? Ritter just seems like he's going to refuse not to succeed. And that'll pay dividends to him, like, tremendously in the end. So I think he'll end up working out in Atlanta personally, which would be amazing.
Yeah. What's up, Wallace? How you doing tonight? Yeah, I feel like for him, he's just got that attitude. Let's think about this guy. He hasn't lost. He only lost 2 games in college. Think about it like that. You lost 2 games in college, and the 2 games you lost were Georgia and Alabama.
He was undefeated at home too.
Bro. And it's funny because it was so many reasons for us to take him, and I feel like people didn't pay attention to it. All they cared about was Malik Willis. And it was like, Malik Willis isn't the best quarterback in this class. I didn't think Kenny Pickett was the best quarterback in the class. I didn't think anybody but Ritter was the best quarterback in the class.
It kind of shocked me when the Steelers picked him up in the first round. Pickett, I was kind of like, it's a little early. I could see maybe second round, but like Ritter falling to the third, that actually shocked me. I was like, there's no way he's making it to the third. And
I think a lot of people thought that. I didn't think he was either. And I think that was the thing where when I saw it, when it happened, I was like, oh, he's actually going to be here in the third round. And then when we drafted him, I think it was like, man, it kind of just it puts you in a different light. Like I wanted Desmond Ritter for a long time. I wanted Desmond Ritter in his junior year when I watched him play Georgia, and I watched him almost beat Georgia. And he didn't have not a lick of wide receiver besides the one that got drafted this year.
I think the best receiver he had was like Alec Pierce.
Yeah, it was Alec Pierce. That was his best. That was his best. That was his best wide receiver. And
that's the crazy thing, right? It's like all he had was Alec Pierce, and he's still almost, he still put up a great fight against Alabama and Georgia. But it's like now he's got Drake London, now he's got Kyle Pitts, now he's got Cordell Patterson. He's got all these crazy weapons around. I think he's going to be amazing in Atlanta.
I think you give him. I feel like you still give him, and this is just me. I feel like you still give him this year to develop. I think if we get into a point next season where, not even with this season, where it's like, okay, if we're in playoff contention, no, I'm not putting Ritter out there. Like some people say, put him out there week 8. It's halfway through the season. If we're in playoff contention at week 8, Mariota starting for the rest of the season. Like we pray and hope. We have the toughest first 8 games I think of any NFL team I've ever seen. I looked at our schedule and I was just like, oh man, it gets worse and worse. Like we play almost every good team on our schedule in the first 8 weeks, and it's like we play Cincy. I think we play LA and Cincy like back to back or something like that. And I'm like, bro, who made this schedule? I was like, who did that? Yeah.
That's about what I was about to say. Based on Marcus Mariota's history, it's like you don't want to see him get hurt. But that first 8 games, it might be.
Shoot.
At some point.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
At some point, you have to say, what do you have to lose? And just throw them in there. If they're sinking.
Well,
yeah.
The important thing too is like if you're sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay, I was just making sure. If you are sinking as a team, you definitely want to make sure you see what you have in Ritter. Like you definitely want to get some in-game action for him. so you know where you need to go in the draft next year. Definitely don't want to put him out there in the first 8 games because that'll break any quarterback's will right there. That's just a murderer's row right there. But
Yeah.
you definitely still want to see what he has. Like Tyrone was saying, if you're just on a hot streak, it is what it is. Playoffs, over development. Let's try to get this ring because all you need is a chance. But I think he'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about the 26. I mean, that 2016 team for us was kind of special. I still feel like this one of our most special teams, and just I don't even think it was really like our old line didn't get hurt all year. Let's think about that. That was huge. Like we didn't get one injured old lineman all year. That was a huge thing for us. And the one scary thing for me is that, okay, we get in the camp, we get in the pads, you see your starting five, and we get to a preseason game or something, and of course, we all know what happens. Injuries happen, and we lose an old lineman. I can't go into last season like I did this season. I can't go down an old lineman now. I can't go down a D lineman. I can't go down Isaiah Oliver again. We're already missing Dion on that defense, and you're going to have to rely on Michael Walker. You're going to have to rely on – and you don't have Foye anymore. So you don't have your main two, linebackers these last couple of years. You got Troy Anderson and you got Michael Walker. And they're going to be rotating. And we still don't know. And you still got Rashad. We have a better team this year than we did last year. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand why we say that as Atlanta fans. Or just as Falcons, like we're getting ranked like the worst roster in the league, and I'm like, do people not understand? Like this team is a lot better than last year.
I mean, not to throw smoke at nobody, but the Texans do exist, so
I mean, we don't even. Let's talk about Cleveland. We don't even know what Cleveland is going to look like this year. So let's think about it. Like, okay, Deshaun Watson's gone. Who's their starting quarterback?
Cleveland, thanks for jumping on that landmine for us.
Thank you. I really appreciate. I want to just shake the owner of Cleveland's hand. Yeah, they took a bullet for the.
Yeah, they did.
They took a bullet for the league. They really took a bullet for the league. Like for him to ask for that much money, and we don't know what your status is, and you might get suspended indefinitely. That's what they're saying. That's what the report say. They want to suspend him indefinitely. So
good.
I mean,
I
don't think
he could have asked for $10 a year, and I still would have laughed at him. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, like that's such a crazy thing to do. I feel like that's one of the most nuts things they could have did was like, you know what? Let's give him a supermax contract, and we don't even know if he's gonna play that whole contract. Like this year, I think it's like $1 million. Like the way he structured it, like his first year, the year he's not, he probably knows he's getting suspended. It's like a lower salary cap. But the next couple of years, it's crazy. Like the amount of money he's gonna have to make is nuts. And I'm not trying to be the team to pay him that. But I like that. I like that comment, Wallace. But this year we have more depth than we did last year. I mean, really and truly, we've signed depth. And for us not to have a lot of cap, especially after we traded Matt, and still get some of the players we got it's like a blessing in disguise, really and truly. What they did, what Terry did this all season, he came from an organization that we all know finds a way to get players that, we all know what the Saints do to get players. I don't know what voodoo they do on their money or whatever, but they always go and get somebody. And he learned.
The wide receiver depth is kind of a testament to how Terry Fontenot could overhaul a position with not really having much to do it with. So I'm really wanting to see what he can do with an actual some actual cap space. I think he's gonna work some magic with that.
Yeah, that'll be.
Go ahead, Kelsey. It'll be fun.
I'm so excited.
I think when we get to next year's off season, and we finally have Julio off the books. Thank God. I think we get rid of Matt's contract next year. Thank God. I mean, we getting rid of a lot of guys' contract. Of course, we have to realize, like, we cut guys that's going to be on our cap anyway, so we're going to still have to worry about that, but it's not going to be that much. A lot of guys we probably going to cut are on, like, 1-year deals or on, like, prove-it deals. So we're going into next season, and I'm not even going to – everybody loves to say we're going into next season with $100 million in cap. I'm telling you, about 25 to 50 that's already gone when you think about AJ – you think about McGarry. When you think about if we not McGarry, I'd say Lindstrom. It might be McGarry. You never know. McGarry might have an amazing year. He looks like Thor now. I don't know if you saw that picture of him in during the spring, but he looks ginormous. It's kind of scary how big he is. But yeah, I think you have to think we're gonna have more. I'll say okay. I'll give us $60 million in cap next year. And that's still a max player. That's still getting another max player. And I don't know who he's going to think about getting. I don't know who it would be.
All I got to say is I hope Indy does something dumb like letting Quentin Nelson go. Cough, cough.
Cough. Yeah, really big cough.
Yeah.
Hopefully they – go ahead.
I have a question for both of y'all. What do you think about D Ford?
Who'd you say, man?
D Ford. Honestly, I think if I wouldn't have a problem bringing him in if he wanted to come play, just because just taking the just off the field thing out of it for a second, just what he could teach the rookies like Epiketti and what's the other guy we drafted? Having a brain fart.
Malone.
D'Angelo Malone. Just what he could teach them just from a like off-field, perspective, like technique, would be invaluable. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of like Dwight Freeney and Vic Beasley when he came in, grant you, Beasley really didn't seem to pick up much of it, but Freeney tried. So it's like sometimes those kind of things could be just as valuable as like the production on the field. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, why not, right?
Just to have him as a mentor would be it'd be a nice thing to have. I mean, like you said, Wallace, he has a lot of injuries. I mean, he stays injured too much, but at a point of it, he's a really, really, really strong vet to have on your team.
See, that's the thing. Like, you're not really paying him to like be super productive on the field. You just pay him like vet minimum to come in and just like have the rookies pick his brain, because it was like there's certain things that you can't really coach, but a player that's been there, like actually physically been on the field, can like look, no, this is how it really is when you're out there in the moment. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that a player like that could really pass down. So
I mean, he knows. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just like with like Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, it's like there's just certain things that Marcus Mariota could teach Ridder that no other player on that team is gonna be able to teach him. So I mean, even coaches, like, there's, one thing of coach telling them how to do something or a technique or whatever, but it's a whole nother thing to actually be the guy out there executing it. You know what I mean? So there's just certain intangibles you can get from a player that's just been there before. So, if he wants to take a vet minimum, all day.
Yeah. For me, I think, like you said, if he if he takes a vet minimum, that's what we're saying, Wallace. If he takes a vet minimum, I'm gonna take him. I mean, if he says, okay, I'll take a vet minimum, then he's a vet. He's still a guy. Like, I mean, you can't take the guy that's out of him. He's still a guy.
The thing about it is he's gonna ask himself, do I want to sit on the couch and make nothing, or do I want to come out here and actually make something this year? So if he gets no other calls and nobody's else to offer him anything else, I mean, why wouldn't he, right? It's better than making nothing.
Really, it's a lot better than making nothing. But another player, I mean, we can talk about a lot. I mean, we still have a lot of other topics to talk about because it's the beginning of football. It's like you don't know what's going on. You really don't. Just little notes and stuff from certain people, but you don't really know what's really going on behind the scenes. And for some reason, I feel like this locker room, every video we see of them, like the team looks happy, the team looks fun, and it seems a lot easier with this team because they not Dion, Grady said, everybody and Pitts. Everybody has bought into the coaching. Every player that gets interviewed, the one thing they say is that everybody's bought into the coaching. Everybody's bought into Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith isn't this fake tough guy like everybody. I've seen Falcons. Oh, he's just the fake tough guy. He's not even really, I mean, I don't see him as that. I see him as he's just hard nosed. He's gonna tell you what you did wrong, and a lot of people can't take that. Julio, and it just is like you have to be able to listen to him. And I feel like a lot of this team is like they're very coachable. It's a very coachable team. It's a team that, okay, we know for sure that we're going to be able to be coached. This whole team's going to be able to get coached. Everybody that they brought in has been able to be coached. Everybody that they brought in has ties to somebody on this team. It's a very interlocked team. Like everybody kind of played with each other out of last year before last. Only people that are kind of new is like the rookies and the people that have been on the Falcons long. But that team is barely a team from like Dan Quinn era. We've gotten rid of a lot of Dan Quinn era players.
I think literally the only players left are what, Deion Jones, Grady, and Jake.
I mean, it's different. It's really different to see that. And I mean, it's gonna be fun. Oh, Hennessy's a Quinn player.
Well, from that 2016 team, yeah, I think McGarry.
Oh yeah, that 2016 team is completely gone. Except like you said, Deion, Grady, and Jake. So, I mean, it's kind of funny to me that I feel like people can't complain now because everybody wanted this full rebuild. Everybody wants a full rebuild. Everybody wants a full rebuild. Okay, Matt, we want Matt gone. We want Julio. But this is funny. Everybody wants Matt gone, but we can keep Julio. We can keep Grady. But we need to do a rebuild. A rebuild is getting rid of everybody. It's a fire sale. Julio kind of jet started, I feel like, this rebuild a lot faster than it was supposed to happen. When he did what he did and we hadn't even gotten the training camp, OTAs, none of that. It kind of pushed them to be like, okay, let's go ahead and just restart the team. And they don't never want to call it a rebuild. I think Kelsey dropped. They don't ever really want to call it a rebuild, but at the same point, it really is. I mean, we really kind of just went through a full rebuild. And I think we had to realize, like, this is a whole new team. And it's going to be a whole new team for a minute.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of it. It's you got to have scorched earth before you can replant anything and actually grow something. So, it's in the short term, it sucks, and it is what it is. But in the long term, if it's done correctly, it will pay big dividends to the actual overall production of the team. It's just it really kind of lays heavy on the coaches. Like, you got to make sure they have a cohesive plan. And, from season one, it kind of felt like they were just kind of, welcome back.
Welcome back.
They were kind of just, doing it as they went.
Yeah.
But now it seems like they do have more of a cohesive plan in place now. So I'm really interested in seeing like where that all leads. But it definitely comes off that way. Like, they actually do have a plan in place now, where before it seemed like they were just kind of going off by like just week by week.
I felt like we had to, though. I mean, what happened last year was for Arthur Smith to come out with as many wins as he did is amazing. Let's think about it. I mean, we had a lot of people say we had to rely on Matt. Of course we did. But for what he did, 7 wins with a team that was, broke down from the beginning is kind of we had no wide receiver help. Let's be honest. We had no wide receiver help. You had barely a running game. You barely had a passing game. And we still came out with 7 wins. You can't be mad at that.
The thing about it is, it didn't seem like he really had, like he was stuck playing with like some like misfit toys, basically. Like he didn't have the cap space or the draft capital or anything like that to get enough players in here to really do what he wanted to as a coach. So it kind of felt like he was kind of forced to play it week by week, just because, you can't really execute something if you don't have the proper things to do it. So I'm really interested in see what he's going to do this year now that he's had a second year to really get the people in that he wants as a team. So it'll definitely tell us a lot about what kind of coach he is. Like, now that he actually has enough players to really cohesively put something together. I think this offense is going to be way better than it was. And, this defense, I definitely think is going to take a step up. So, like, when people tell us that we have, like, the worst roster in the NFL, like, that's just nonsense, if you ask me.
Kelsey, we're going to give you your opinion on that. And then you can do kind of like your wrap-up, tell people where to follow you at. Just anything you want to promote, you can promote it.
Yeah. No, I agree with Vlad. I think this year is going to be way better than all the analysts on TV are saying. And if you ask someone who didn't follow the Falcons really well last year, ask them how many wins they think we had. People are shocked when you reply like, no, we had 7. We didn't have 3 or 5. We had 7 wins. And that was without wide receivers, an offensive line, a pass rush, and now Dean Pease wants to unlock 100% of his defensive scheme, and the vibes are so much better. And anyone who follows in depth of the Falcons can see that, but you have these guys out here who are going to say, nope, worst roster, worst team in the NFL, good luck. But these guys are going to prove them wrong, and I'm so excited. We have a lot to unravel.
Amen.
Anything you want to promote?
And you can follow me on Twitter. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at K Krames. So it's KKRANZZ. That's my personal account. My work really is on Facebook at Heavy on Falcons. So you can follow that there, which is all the Falcons stuff. So thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming on, Vlad. Anything you got?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you for coming on and taking your time out of your day to come chop it up with us. It's always fun talking football. And not really. I'm just kind of looking forward to the preseason and eventually the season to see what we have as a team. So, I do appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Kelsey, again. Everybody in the comments, go follow her on Twitter. I'll make sure. My Twitter's, and if you look at my name, that's my Twitter at Tyrone ATL. I will make sure I will shout her out, and I think I already shouted her out. If I don't, I will post this video, and I will shout her out again on Twitter. On the Fila page at Fila_SP. It'll be on the Facebook for our Limited Sports Podcast. Probably it'll pop with the page. But yeah, make sure you guys go on Facebook and look at Heavy on Falcons. Make sure you give her, if she writes something, listen to it. Read it. It's not hard to read if you let me not say that. But read the stuff she puts out because it's very informative. It's very informative stuff. We are always appreciative for having reporters on. Thank you again. Like I said, follow me on Twitter at Tyrone ATL. Anybody, thank you, Wallace. Good content. Thank you, bro. Anybody that watched, thank you. And with that, let me go to the outro. We are out of here. Peace.